In this session, we're going to talk about how to use a TrackMate to analyze horsepower. You can do this with a TrackMate Classic, which is this round sort of lozenge-shaped display, the basic system, or the Track Dash. Connecting to them is a little bit different, but first thing you do is just open up Track View or Track Studio, whichever you have. And once that fires up there, with the Classic, you go ahead and plug it into the USB cable into the display, and that will basically turn it on, and then you would hit connect. The basic needs power, either AC or battery power typically. It can be off. When you plug it into the computer, it will turn on. And then with the Track Dash, you just have to insert the SD card and just hit open session file. So in this case, we have a system connected already. Just go ahead and hit connect, and it will pop up the window here and give you your files. At the top here, you can go ahead and determine where you want to save this. The first session, typically at the top, is going to be the newest session, and you can erase the sessions here if you want to later on, but we'll just go ahead and download it here now. If you need to make any adjustments as well after you're done downloading, you can change the track here, the I/O data, which is any kind of data inputs like sensors and things. And this is all done for the Classic and Basic. All the other adjustments are done on the Track Dash itself for that product. Alright, once that's done, we hit OK, and then go back up here to Open. And we have some files here already selected. These are good comparison files, so I'll just go ahead and pick these. Let's just assume we're comparing 4 different vehicles. So here's your session. This shows the folder where it's at, and we'll just pick those. We'll just assume we downloaded 4 different TrackMate files, and we're bringing them all up here. Alright, first thing that comes up is a setup window. Now that shows you have different tabs here: Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3. That's the different TrackMates that you've collected data from. The first unit that you load your data from will always be the default. Everything will be basically based on that. And from there, what you want to do is you want to just pick the distance graphs, and you want to go ahead and select horsepower versus distance. A lot of times I also do speed versus time, or horsepower over time, things like that. But in this case, we're just going to do horsepower over distance. I like to do velocity over distance as well to kind of give me an idea where they are. And over here on the bottom, you want to click Car Setup, and assuming all the cars have been weighed, you basically want to enter in that weight. And in this case, I don't know the weight of all these cars, but we'll just say 2,000 pounds, right? And every car is going to be a little different, but ideally they'd be pretty closely matched if they're all in the same class or the same type of car. And that obviously can affect the horsepower to some degree. If you're dealing with a lot of aero and stuff, you can change some of this aerodynamics and things like that. But for the most part, you're really not looking for an exact number. You're looking for comparative data, and that's really what the TrackMate is designed to do, to give you an idea of how two similarly spec'd cars compare to one another. So we go back here, hit OK, and then you're brought up here to the menu, the by distance menu, and the horsepower over distance. And right away, you'll see that the green car, Unit 4, is significantly faster than the other cars in the session. Now let's go over here to this comparison mode, and you can actually see the kind of lap times this guy's putting down. He's putting down 2:17, 3:85. The other car here is 2:17.1 in blue. So the green car is clearly making more power, but the blue car is actually turning the faster lap time. This is fairly common. The guy who can't drive as well has got the faster car. So in this case, it's pretty obvious that as you're looking at these graphs here, as speed increases, this is basically speed over distance. As you can see, sort of, as they accelerate along here. And in the case of the green car, they all basically start accelerating about the same time, but he's just starts really, really pulling them down the straightaway. So we'll go, and the real key is you use these controls down at the bottom to kind of slide the traces around, and you can hit play controls down here as well. What I tend to look for on a track is going to be a level area. So I'll look at this area here coming out of Oak Tree, even though it's not quite level. Yeah, it's not really ideal for this, but you can do it here as well, sort of coming onto the straight there. And what I'll look for a lot of times is sort of the look at the horsepower for one thing, but I also look at the acceleration, entry speed, and exit speed. So you can kind of get an idea, general idea pretty quickly if the weight and everything is entered correctly and there's no sort of massive aero differences between the cars. That's a pretty quick telltale sign. And you can also see, just in data analysis wise, when someone gets on the power sooner or carries more speed. So up is acceleration, down is braking on this graph. So he accelerates harder, he has to brake more there. Same situation here, he brakes more. And then, where this blue car is actually faster, he's braking later and harder than any of these other guys are. The same situation here. He's typically just the better driver, or the car is set up better. So let's look at sort of entry speed, exit speed, and see if we have any red flags with this session. So you go back up here to setup. Setup is sort of the key to getting all your information. So you can see the different lap times here. And what I'm going to do on this one in particular is I'm going to go to segment analysis. Click segment analysis. What that does is just gives you this graph here that pops up, and it looks slightly intimidating at first, but it's really not that bad. Segments are created around the track. They automatically create, and you can move them and do whatever you want to them. They're really easy to manipulate. So in this case, we're just going to say, all right, that's segment 8. And let's put another one over here. You can either drag an existing one or create new ones using the segment tools up here. We'll just use what we have here to start with. And I'm just clicking and dragging around until I kind of get it where you think about it, you're sort of trying to capture this an area of the track. So you want to say, okay, they entered at this speed, they exited at this speed, they entered at this speed, and they exited at this speed. Sure, it's like trap speed on a quarter mile or something. It indicates, if you enter in at the same speed and whoever exits that speed is substantially faster, they've probably got more power. And that's just kind of how that works. It's not too bad. So all the segments are numbered, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so is this. So in this case, we're going to jump to segment 7, on the segment analysis down here. And what I'll look for is the entry speeds and then the exit speeds. Now this is in kilometers, just because that's the way this computer's set up. But you can drag this to see it a little bit more clearly. But you know, this ought to give you a pretty good idea. This car here, the green car, Unit 4. So Unit 4, way back here, if you drag it, he enters this segment at a whopping 90 kilometers an hour, so it's about 60 miles an hour. We'll just say 90 and use that as the reference point. This other car entered it at 97. The blue car, which is the fastest lap time, entered it at 96. So clearly this driver in the green car is not that great of a driver in comparison to the other people in his class. But then look at the exit speed. So the blue car here, entry speed of 96, exit speed 161. This one 97, 157. So the blue car is pretty healthy. I would consider that a good baseline now, but this green car here, he entered in the slowest and exited substantially faster than the other car. That's a pretty big red flag for me. You know, I would love to see his dyno, or we don't know the particular weight of this, so that may be part of it too. But again, let's go to segment 9, which is over here. Kind of see the entry speed. In this case, the fastest lap driver had a great entry speed and exited at 161. Little slower entry for the green car, but again, exited faster. So that clearly indicates to me, and looking at the horsepower as well here, that this car, if these cars are all in the same class and they're the same type of car, clearly something's going on. He's got substantially more horsepower, and enough to want to see his dyno and compare that, and you know, talk to the other drivers and see, you know, hey, well, is this guy, you know, what's going on out there on the track? You know, is he just pulling past you guys and everybody's going full throttle? And a good demonstration of that will be, just look at the track map here. We'll hit play and you can actually watch. Okay, they're all coming out. Oak tree, accelerating. And the green car's starting to creep up. It's probably, you know, into third, maybe even fourth at this point. And he's still pulling, and he pulls past everybody. He's pulling right on past. And you know, if these are all in the same class, that's he had this, keep in mind, he had the slowest entry point here and the fastest exit here. So that's a pretty good indication that something was going on with that car. So, you know, you can print these out if you need to, show the driver, or you can also save the data. If you save or save as, you'll be able to use that data later or have it for comparison. You know, it's a good way to also, if you want to, into the setup window here, say if you, under car setup, you could put in the name of the driver or the car. You could change that. Obviously make sure the weight's correct. Any notes you want to input there, driver information, you can change that for the driver, or you can enter in the car here, like the car number. And when you save that, then you'll have an analysis file for future reference or for better comparison. Say if you have a driver in a known good car that has a known horsepower, you can save him and then can pull in your suspect driver's file and easily compare it to him, compare it to that baseline that you know is good, and you know, find out what's going on where. Again, the real thing to focus on is location on the track. You want to be typically second, third gear before aero really kicks in. Ideally, you want to try and be level as possible. You want to make sure you get accurate weights after they come off track. You want to make sure the track mate is mounted level in the car. If it's not level, the data won't be accurate, and throw it out because it's not good. You also want to make sure the antenna is outside the vehicle so you get clear reception. And it's good to use this as a tool. This is a piece of data, but it's not the end all be all. Dynos are there for a reason, and there may be other factors here. There may be gearing going on. If that's legal in the class, that can change a lot. Maybe aero stuff that may be legal for, if these are two different types of cars, that can change a lot. In terms of the rating, they may actually, have more power, but their aero slows them down enough to cause them to be even and leveled out with somebody else. The smart drivers are going to build their engines for torque and acceleration on the bottom end with NASA's horsepower rules. So, anybody who's really fast is probably going to have get out of the corners faster than the next guy, and his engine's going to be built and designed around these rules that they have set up. So it may be throttled down or have some kind of restrictor plate, but built for torque. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're looking at all this stuff. It's the smart guys are going to figure out a way around some of it, but I think the main goal is to let them know that they're being watched and monitored, and hopefully not just have somebody like this who's a total outlier, who's probably placed second or third in class because he's maybe not the best driver, but he's got the most power. So that's about it. Once the session's done, you can close everything out. Recommend clearing off the systems every chance that might enter in confusion by having too many files on them. Keep them charged up, and just keep them in rotation, and your data will be accurate, and keep them up to spec. So that's it for this.